Amazing. We made it. The journey of technical difficulties, always plaguing everyone. Just we were having some audio issues in the beginning, which like lasted about 30 minutes. So we decided to move it to Zoom to still do the recording, and we're still going to upload it afterwards. And we're going to work out how to do some captions or figure out something that is going to be able to link in to help people who are hard of hearing or need captions. So just because we're losing track of time right now, I'm just going to jump right into it, and we're going to start off with the readings, and I'm just going to start off with Laurel C. So Laurel C is a poet, editor, and educator from Taiwan. They are a recipient of fellowships from Kudiman, Pink Door, and Poetry Incubator, among others. Their work is anthologized in Bettering American Poetry Volume 3 and published in Black Warrior Review, The Adroit Journal, Hyphen, and elsewhere. They live in Berkeley, California, where they are currently earning their BA in Ethnic Studies at UC Berkeley. And Laurel, for us, just one more time, can you repeat the territory that Berkeley, California is currently on?
I live in Berkeley, California, which is on Mwakma Ohlone territory.
Thank you so much. Laurel C is one of my favorite poets. Like, I can't say that enough because they really opened my eyes to what sonic and language can be. And when I first was like writing up this list of like who I was going to ask to be a part of this, I like immediately came to these names, and I'm so excited to have them with us. So without further ado, Laurel C.
Thank you, Golden. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'll just get straight into the poems. The first one is a short one. The title is You Say Citizenship, I Say a Country is a Catastrophe. This poem is after Jasmine Reed. We live in a house quieter than our panic. The windows are tall and white. The glass is warped from our desire. I open the doors of the fridge when it is too warm with our want. I crawl inside there until my parents say time's up. The house is so quiet, sometimes I hear the pipes resting inside it. My mother and I both cut our hair so that our bangs would wave like flags. I paint my lips red and only wear blue or green. My brother waits patiently at the mailbox, want bending his figure in half. We dress the windows with curtains, but desire still floods the house in summer. My father turns off the fridge one night when it sounds so much like cicadas. Want hums, warmer than wind or worship. When the phone rings, I feel each note twist in the air. Even sound is twisted under want. I feel like I can almost touch it when it hums like that. We hold our breath until our lungs vibrate like refrigerators. The second poem I'm gonna read. How many of y'all like Nicki Minaj? I hope that's everybody. This poem is after / this shares the same title as her song High School, and it begins with a quote by my dear friend Charlotte. High School. It begins with a quote. So when Nikki said, "You bitches can't even spell Prague," I was like, I really can't, Nikki, LMAO. Replace spell with go, and I can't do that either, Charlotte. Us car full of queer bitches and T-girls can almost rap the lyrics of the whole song when we cobblestone our half-memorized verses together, joking that we share a single brain cell between the four of us, lyrics sputtering in the dusk of Lee's car. My ESL brain can only mouth the lyrics until it's slow enough for me to sing the chorus or the end of a bar before the beat drops. And even then, I stutter but still scream because this song knows me even if I don't. Nikki, bad bitch that came from Trinidad and Tobago, undocu-hottie to her core. Everyone whips their hair when Nikki starts her verse and smiles big because we know exactly which bar is coming next. A couple fake visas because he never got his papers, and Lee turns to me, "Yo, Nikki really said fuck borders, y'all." And we laugh because it feels right, and there I've done it again. Made myself a mirror from a song whose lyrics are suddenly about me, even though I'm afraid to say pussy with my whole chest the way Nikki does whenever it's in her verse. I mean, I have every right to say it, but instead stumble on, best friend is the dyke they fucked around a few times, as if Lil Wayne has more of a right to talk about sapphic shit than me. Y'all remember when Lil Wayne was a communist? Nina wraps her acrylics against the window. Like, he really said, honestly, I'm down, like the economy, to go with Down by Jay Sean, who is Asian and British, LOL. Wait, oh my fucking God. I almost forgot about that. Are you serious? And we laugh because we're all in debt. Just a few paychecks, a phone call away from being evicted, kicked out our families for being girls who aren't girls and still kissing girls like us. But right now, Lee's driving, and maybe I could be split open, glittered on the asphalt, a broken taillight between now and the alt night of being deported. But instead, I focus on Charlotte, who sends me a screenshot of Nikki's Insta with the caption, "She is flawed, but she's one of us." And I picture her singing every single one of Nikki's bars on the other side of the country. And I tell Lee, I trust you with my life. And one of us pulls up directions, and one of us has the aux, so we're good. We're so good. Ricky shouts, "Pussy so wet, I'm gonna need goggles," and the whole car shrieks with her. Nikki says, "Baby, it's your world. Baby, it's yours." Says, "Me and my crew, we can slide through," and we believe her. "Baby, it's your world, ain't it?" And I'm in tears. Cries while rapping in US passport list. Yeah, it is. It really is. Thank you. That is a fun poem to read. Also, this is my first time reading with like this wig on, so thank you for bearing through any technical difficulties with me. The next poem is a cento, which is a poetry form that is sort of like a collage where each line is comprised of lines by other poets. Nor, who is in this reading / group chat here, has read this poem, has given me many edits. So thank you. This poem would literally not exist without you. This is Underwater Centum. Hold it to your ear. I'm tired of rust. I love my country, but it is what I know, a lie. From where? With waiting, no one could find me. I've lied about where I was born. Today, this country teaches us how to swim, how to part the weight of memory, like a diver. When I lay my face to hear the sound of birds, I am swinging open with river water. There is always the evidence. The ocean means sorting our mail and leaving, or means their papers. They did not ask where is home. I dip my hands into the sea. I net scores of bright fish on their palms, the pores on my arm open and open and open. And there, not the promised land, but barbed wire and barbed wire over the ocean. The ocean, the way I learned all we did as aliens, we did because at some point it's easier to be lonely. Not everything floats. I am trying to learn which parts of me to let sink. Or I am only trying to slither back into my first skin. After a long time gone, I could forge the sea into steam like everyone does. Today, a child looks seaward. Little fishbone works at the back of my throat like thirst to water. After, a salt scent, a visitor, a word exiled toward a rested horizon, running in my ears, a bruise spreading. Do you know how hard it is to dig a new river? The strangeness between us opens like a pinhole on the ocean floor, where brackish water trickles in and memory trickles out by swallowing it. Immediately, I began leaking to ocean. Sometimes you just have to leave because some things are formed only through rapture. Seaways, the afterlife of skies, a wholeness of continent. I wasn't born here. My first dawn here, I spent it dreaming. When I sleep, I see a child because there's no other world to enter. Here are my shoulders in their winglessness. My fingers harvest the dark. See mine, outstretched beneath a sheen of blue water. Now, blackness gathers in the grass without seeing a slice of sun. The light I want to collect as wide as my outstretched hand, sharpened through wet leaves. If you ask me now, I'll tell you it's how I live my light. That dawn, I needed to say, I swear to you here and now, if I ever go missing, know that I am trying to come home a nervous, thin fish. I left that plane. I let the rain wash my neck, shake my fins. You sprinted back toward me with your head in a fish tank. What we do is stare and stare at ourselves in the water. and wash our faces before we drown in them. What brings you to the bed of this river? What is it about this planet that keeps you running back? And my very last poem for tonight is a poem for my friends. One of them who is also here tonight. So Bradley might be making a cameo tour as well as like previous readers who have like come through in this series. Thank you, Golden, again for having me and for having all of us. This poem is after Jess Rizkala, titled Friday Crushes. Friday Crushes. Zenaida coaching me in the most extreme sport of all, eyeliner on public transit. Blank run on my collarbone and there's no sting in sight. Group chat, illegal dinner. Tauruses when it's not Taurus season, and Havana being the only Pisces I trust. I tell Bradley I think home is a social construct and say, yeah, you know, it might be, but it's one that I'm willing to buy into. A love letter, but it's just Summer dipping her hair in olive oil from Palestine. A love letter, but it's just John and Arati and Julian and the whole team curled up together on a couch in Houston, trying to figure out how to split a bottle of wine between all 9 of us. Jess says she's going to dye her hair purple, and wow, I want silver hair again. The moon when it's full, and also when she's not. The moon isn't made of cheese, you fool, it's in Scorpio. A love letter, but it's just a room full of people shouting Palestine with glee. JR's eyes wrinkling when I said they have big grandparent energy. Cloud watching with Ewan on a hill in June. Summer after spring and summer after fall. Group chat, asparagus rising. A love letter, but it's just Bradley breathing quietly on the other end of the line. A love letter, but it's just all of my prescriptions, already filled. Tiny miracle. Winged eyeliner that doesn't smudge on the first try. Hey sweetness. Hey honey. Hey moonbeam and gemlight and starshine and goodness. A love letter, but it's all of my roommates calling me by my name even before I know it. Hey bitch, I love you to the moon and back. Never forget that. Anissa laughing as they keep the stairs warm for us. Tiny miracle. Lactate in my back pocket while waiting in line for Taco Bell. This tattoo just now healing and I already want another one. A love letter, but it's just all the texts I've screenshotted from Charlotte. A love letter, but it's just Havana tenderly slipping a $5 bill into my pocket. I love you every single day, every hour. You save me every single day that you're alive. Don't you forget it. I love you forever. Thank you.
Wow. Just like, you know, just a way to start. Like, this is the beginning. Like, we're not even like halfway through yet. We just go. Like I was saying the last one, I wish there was like I could just be like pew, 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 throughout like people's poem sets. Like I think poetry needs to like imitate like how musicians do it because I really be like, yes, like I feel it so deeply. Thank you so much, Laurel. And like we'll talk about these things about like community and like how like forming community and like trying to honor languages around and like people from many different places, and I want to talk more about that, but I want to get into the next reading. So I'm just gonna jump right into Noor. Wow, yeah, it's just like bangers after bangers. Like every time I go back, I'm just like, wow, like it's just another. Like y'all never. It's not gonna stop. I'm just gonna let you know. Like just it's just 2 hours of bangers, and I just want you to just like really feel that. So just really like sit in that. This is a all-star cast. So just Nora, just really quickly, just so you can correct me before I do not mispronounce your name, but it's Noor Ibn Najim.
Honestly, you can just say Noor. That makes me more comfortable.
Okay, great. I just wanted to check in.
Put that in my bio. Just say Noor.
Cool.
Thanks.
So Noor is a poet who teases, challenges, breaks, and creates language, a Callaloo and Watering Hole Fellow, and a recent resident of the Vermont Studio Center. Her poems have been published and anthologized with the Academy of American Poets, the Rumpus, Bettering American Poetry, Best New Poets, and others. Noor's chapbook, Praise to Lesser Gods of Love, was published by Glass Poetry Press and contemplates the ever-shifting role love in the human experience and how best to worship such a multitudinous deity. I met this poet at Pink Door, and since then they have like changed my life about what poems can do. Like every time I read a Nora poem, I'm just like, wow. So I just need to readjust my proximity to language and just like level up. But I do think that like you'll see and you'll hear and really like hold that you'll see these flexes in language and like the way they move about their work. And I'm so excited to have them here. So without further ado, let me give it up to Noor.
Okay, that was a very emotional intro, so thank you. Can you hear me okay? Is it fine? Okay, that's good. We bummed the Wi-Fi right now, so, oh, this is government programming. No, we don't bum the Wi-Fi. I'm gonna read mostly new work, and I'll try to explain some as I go. But the first one is it's half libation and half, I guess, criticism for a woman named Miriam Carey. She was a Black woman who lived in DC, which is where I grew up. And I think in 2013, she was killed because she ran her car into like a barrier in front of the White House. And then there was a chase and she was shot. Her daughter was in the backseat but survived. She was a baby. And that's already troubling, but I think the more disturbing aspect of that story for me personally is that no one really knows what happened or why she did that. She had like a job as a dental hygienist or something, and like everyone loved her. And some family members came forth with information about her mental health, but there was nothing ever confirmed and a lot of speculation. But a lot of I think this is more like critique of language and how people talk about mental illness or speculate about it than anything. But it's also for her above all. So, Miriam, mother of the sun, she who hungered at breast, bitter sea, tongued from a vein, beloved of gaunt faces, a licked tributary, love that wailed in the back seat, rebellion, you were a drop of seawater and flooded the front gate of America, well nourished and blessed, hungry at the gate, blessed. That child does not have a mother. We were told that Carrie rammed, that she tried to breach, that she had mental problems, barriers, easy to call a tragedy, not exactly true, a standing ovation, a long time, reliable, and valuable, supposedly mentally unstable person. So yeah, this is not a light set, but yeah, so I was really grateful to hear Laurel talking about like us swapping edits, because I feel like a lot of people are really in conversation with what I'm doing too in this pan kickback. So I'm happy to be reading with y'all. This is a sweet, and I think that's all I'm gonna say about this, right? Yeah. Okay. It killed everything about me. October, February. It was summer upside down. It was summer. Summer was staged, time for bed. Summer was, it was what had happening too. No, in summer I was. Sweat in cold months. Say it fast till it summers a scream. Summer sewed my shut and stopped counting sutures. The sun touched. The hospital was summer where the sun worked hard. Heat waves in summer, that upside down summer. October, February, April. Harvest, the live root, summered. Time summered. Dirt summered. Mammals dug into summer and slept upside down, being cold where the dead live. In the warm of blood, as snow fell on a mattress of basement, it was summer, and flowers grew only to die come summer. Too bright to hear and no trees. Someone's summer was a lonely eye, was an unwelcome spasm, one grief for each 16th year survived. 25 suns and no summer spared me yet. Halloween in summer, so my costume's hot. Ass out, breasts out, summer. Of heat, sex, and history, all summer people drowned in sweat on the beach of some summer ocean. I am no exception. In summer, I make an animal of heat and be wretched like a phoenix, born after summer burned under my shorts, taking everything it touched to be scattered at a later date. Today's closing damp like a ready envelope. For once, my hips feel fine. There's flowers jumping from bulbs like sparks when windows open to rain, but I'm not sure about these pants. On a bus I've never ridden, in a place I've never been, I'd have nothing to forget. It touches itself the way all cities masturbate. If memories weren't such a gray day, If signs weren't such yellow buzz, I'd see butcher but smell no carcass. Some hornets eat carrion, okay. I'm an animal, buzzkill, because something beautiful was here and I believe you, but I don't know where that is. You must end each day of hunting without thumbs. You must know to open-mouthed scream, to slaughterhouse sleep, to wake from blood. A child must know, then forget. A childhood must know to become an eye or a knot in a potato or a tree. Whatever happened must be remembered only by taste, a midnight jot. To tire of happiness hunting, you must invert the 2 or 3 of swords. If you need help, you must hang in the slaughterhouse some sleeves of saltines. To be a good truffle hog, you must offer the precious meal of your longing while longing to eat. You must snuffle the dirt for that taste, and you must end each day of hunting alone and hungry and the people sleeping inside. Ready to die, and I haven't found a thing. Sunless and hungry still. Will you close around my lips while I sleep through summer's night song of birth, a horde of cicadas, 2 or 3 weeks every sweet 16, 17 years. People can't stop talking about the war this summer, and you're starting to think the rumored summer could really be summer. Forget summer. People can't stop talking about summer. Forget summer, forget summer, forget summer, forget summer. This summer you're alive just like everybody else, and summer's paws knead at your heart, and summer is the wild sick season, and the hot summer of your chest purrs. Summer wouldn't come up while the sun was out, or no one was talking about summer, except when the girls went to bed and listened. Maybe summer was a girl and spilled into the bright night of summer, her sun forbidden between her teeth. Winter could be cold and it's summer out. What is scaring you about that? The magnolia was killed that summer, the never-ending story of a tree, bark rough like a grandmother's apology, and open hands like soft white mouths of kittens purring perfume. Young and angry, a pet was buried by the roots to feed some loss to its power and sprawl under our family. Above us, it held off the sun. Summer heat waves and it drank up our water. We lost and lived like sweat in its grip. Broken apart by a chainsaw, the magnolia fell in pieces away from the house. It was sliding up and under. The nerve thrown beneath would have killed the foundation of our city, house built on wood. I was sorry not to lose the tree, but to lose the earth beneath, where something small, but I loved it, was breaking apart. In what was unawake summer morning, the war unhinged and called to or for something. You answered as the blank shadow of the bright and cold sunlit rooms of your house. In this season made of wood, summer, it lives and everything happened. Here's something. There's something which could maybe be something in the yard. There's hydrangeas near something or maybe something. Dead something soak the something like something, and whenever they speak you hear something. There's something crawling sweet mounds of something which could maybe be something's thighs. Either way, something sickened what was a well-lit basement. Something abounds in something. It could also be bound in something, or something. You fell asleep reading by streetlights in bed. So that was this long thing, and it's kind of just grappling with making obsession a part of language instead of talking about it. So kind of like making all these experiences boil down to one word that actually makes sense because nothing that I'm talking about happened in summer actually. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going. So I challenged myself because I'm like a very anxious, depressed, pessimistic kind of person. So a lot of times I find it hard to like separate worry from actual like intense feelings that I'm really having. So I challenged myself to write a poem in which I both described how beautiful I think queer love is, and then in the same breath, name how close death feels to that kind of talk, like how close it feels to, how hard it feels to not bring my worry about death into the room. And I chose a word that's an Arabic word. There's a term of endearment. You can say "adarni," and it means "you bury me." And it literally it's because older people used to say it to their children and grandchildren because they love them so much they don't want to bury their children. But it's also like a pretty casual thing to say. Like my grandma just says it to me, and I'm like, I was like reading on the chair, and she's like, "Yeah, adarni," and just kept walking, and like it's very morbid. But I think it actually does a lot of the work that I'm talking about, just in like the casual conversation. So. Yeah, adarni. to bury me. You take your turn first. To become earth's sugar, to be a seedless orange offered, to be useless and sweet, to be loved for it, to want fruit to unwind from the concept of sex like a third leg, to want sex severed of expectation, to want queer instead of dead, to have nothing to do with my life or what happens, to want queer instead of dead to mean lineage, vine and roots that feed upward climb, breaking earth's stone teeth to pieces again, still. Or I love you because something broke in your mouth, found the seed of yourself, and it cracked your teeth, and still you love me as an orchard. And still you insist you must open my mouth to a sudden blue meadow where the moon tosses light down on us in fistfuls, the silent speech of dirt, as if we were its dead partner. One of us will die and then the other. I love you, I must bury my mouth. And how am I doing on time? I forgot to look. Okay, I'm gonna read a couple more then that are related to the topic in a different way. So I've been writing these poems that are like written in Arabic grammar but English words. The idea being to kind of bring the tension that colonialism adds to language to the like kind of more structural aspects of how I write. So the idea being also like, you know, that English, if English gave me the words to talk as being my first language, like it gave me the words and the vocabulary, but the grammar can still be a different entity, like the structure of my thoughts and how I organize them. So I've been kind of experimenting with those. So I'm going to read some poems that include language like that. There are a few of them. Colonial fit. Tries the grammar, the Arabic to fit the English. No, it understand tongue of you, and no can I feed you these, the morsels from mouth of me. Language of me the Arabic half chewed. O Teta, let me, I try and I fail to fit languages two of us in each other. Seen I face of you, split open of riot laughter, and the spit it fell without grace from lips of you the thins, skin of you the light, skin of you the wrinkled and the healthy, flecks brown like olive in the folds of the corners of the eyes of you. Sometimes I split skin of me with spoon when I am looking in the mirror, and but the tool is blunt and wrong, and you fall from face of me, and I ask you these the questions you sprinkled them in the lungs too. I use her for the breath. O Teta, no doubt that you know approve pattern life of me. No, I asked you never, but I know it. Face of you was beautiful and full, passion the youth. In the Arabic, the word, the English acne, she translates to hubb shabab. He means the passion of youth. Your face of you was beautiful and full, passion the youth. No shy at dinner. You conceal what you want, and someone will give it. Why face you before writing love, sex, and guilt? That night, you and I made out against the wall, your mouth against mine, and I fading across. You and I were at my place before the lights came on. You and I had a good time. We don't talk anymore. This one is, it was a challenge actually from Julian. He tricks me into writing things. So I was talking about, I had misheard him say a grandma of Henny or something, or a silk bonnet of Henny. And he was like, what would that even mean? I was trying to justify my behavior instead of just saying I misheard him and me write about it. So these are like series of counting words, like units, that I then translate into the unfit, the fits. Counting words. A grandma of puddin', silk bonnet of Henny, eyelids of pepper, platters of my enemies, short stack of promises, stale stacks of crackers, gold stars of death threats, whole niggas, half bred with quivers of lipstick, with 2 books of sarcasm, black stars of orgasms, chasms of regret, grandmother rice by milk, scarf silk Henny, eyelids to pepper and plate big enemies, of me, stack short, promises stale stack crackers, stars gold death threats. Stars gold threats the death, slaves, entire, I was born by, quivers the kahal and books to the irony, stars black spasms the sex, chasms I seek forgiveness from. Abaya for lunchtime guilt. Amin in the silk lake, embroidered all over, needlework up to my eyes. Red threads pursing lips along my collar. Kisses are forbidden when we fast. Gold unknotting like a map of my name. My chest a refraction against water. Glinting green, threads against the dazzling night. How a beetle's shell shimmers and sings, yeah, Abaya. Won't you drench me in my vibrant blood? Won't you drape me in your matriarch tongue? Won't you fray? Won't you tangle the loose weave cadence, the water I wade, you, fabric of my holy days, torn, no fit for a mosque. These days I untask my duty to Allah and sink instead into the wet depths of lineage. How we scatter and are rethreaded by tradition. How we fast to remember we're still close to something. Needles in hands, west itch, stitch, stitch. And that's what I got. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Noor. I was over here writing down notes because I'm like writing notes in between everyone's like reading, and I was like, "Oh, they said something good. Let me get that down before I come back in." So I had to make sure. But I just wanted, you brought up a really great point in your reading, which I'm going to talk about more. And this is why I really love reading your work. Is that like, even though we're given these like words, like English is like given to us, right? Like I think that like repurposing grammar and like retelling stories that fit us more, or like repurpose language that the way we use it, I think is a way of like a power exchange. And I'm gonna talk about more, or like propose more questions like that. But thank you so much for your poems. I really appreciate it. So next up we have Raquel Salas Rivera. And wow, I'm just gonna I just keep saying wow because I'm gonna stop someday. Maybe not, because I'm still astonished. But Raquel Salas Rivera is a Puerto Rican poet, translator, editor, and literary critic. In 2018, he was named the Poet Laureate of Philadelphia for a 2-year term. The following year, he became the inaugural recipient of the Laureate Fellowship from the Academy of American Poets and won the New Voices Award from Puerto Rico's Festival de la Palabra. His third book, Lo Terciario, the Tertiary, second edition, Nohimi Press 2019, was on the 2018 National Book Award long list and won the 2018 Lambda Literary Award for Transgender Poetry. His fourth book, While They Sleep Under the Bed is Another Country, was published by Birds LLC in 2019 and was on the 2020 PEN America Open Book Award long list. His fifth book, Ex Iquis, Poemas para la Nación, Poems for the Nation, was the first recipient of the Ambrosio Prize, editorial bilingual from Bilingual Press 2020. Without further ado, I'm gonna give it to Raquel, but I can't just like, wow. I mean, the bio is enough. Like, it's just like, wow, legend, amazing. And like, I don't really need to say much more, but I already know this is about to be fire. So without further ado, Raquel Salas Rivera.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. So thank you so much for inviting me, Golden. I'm going to read poems that I've written since February, so they're all new. This one's the most recent one. La Contraria. No tengo amistades cuya intromisión llegue a mi puerta. El candado tiene un candado de látex y ahora sospecho del dinero más que nunca, pero con el miedo abultado. Una exposición continua me da el récord que no quise de la pérdida. La luz mata, dicen, él habla. Al fin y al cabo, ¿cómo no llamar al ex patrono con ofertas de trabajo gratuito, con deseos de que me exploten? Después de esto, iré a todas las playas, pero no a las cuevas. Después de esto, estaré en todos los paris llorando, diciendo incoherentemente que quiero que me dejen quieto de cerca. También besaré a los panas que a veces me caían mal. Ya perdoné como a 10 incluyéndome, porque no supe entrar a este mundo feo y duro y es lo único que nos queda. No estoy triste, estoy evitando la muerte. No estoy triste, estoy comiéndome un cable y su programación. No estoy triste, tengo unas ganas de matar toda ganancia. ¿Cómo se llama la generación que sobrevive? El colmo es un concepto renovable. Le hablé del ladito al del Walgreens. Los pasillos estaban vacíos y llenos de productos. Aplaudí cuando alguien escribió, estoy viva. Aplaudí en mi sala de mimbre, en mi patio de progreso paulatino. Tengo varias soluciones mágicas que dicen que ayudan. Me prometieron que cuando volviera a grupos de 4, se podrá abolir el vértigo emparejado. ¿Cómo va la cuarentena? ¿Quién conocemos que es vulnerable? También tomo pastillas sin leer los avisos. Hoy finalmente pude escribir y decidí dejarle esta nota a los empleados de la limpieza. Gracias. No te conozco, pero mi basura es tóxica y la recoges. Si tuviera mascarilla adicional sería toda tuya. Como mi corazón ajado y un poco roto. Gracias por sobrevivir y no es por nada, pero te queda súper bien el uniforme. To be contrarian. I have no friends whose intermission reaches my door. The lock has a latex lock, and now I distrust money more than ever, but with bulky fear. Continual exposition provides a record of loss I never wanted. The light kills, they say, in speech. At the end of the day, how not to call your ex-boss offering to work for free, yearning for exploitation. After this, I'll go to all the beaches, but not the caves. After this, I'll be at all the parties crying, incoherently rambling that I want to be left alone close up. I'll also kiss all the panas I sometimes didn't like. I've already forgiven 10, myself included, because I never knew how to enter this ugly and hard world, and it's all we've got. I'm not sad, I'm avoiding death. I'm not sad I'm eating a cable and its programming. I'm not sad I have an insatiable desire to kill all earnings. What do you call the surviving generation? Limit is a renewable concept. I spoke out the side of my mouth with the Walgreens cashier. The aisles were empty and full of products. I clapped when someone wrote, "I'm alive." I clapped in my wicker living room, in my gradual progress yard. I have many magical solutions, they say help. They promise when we go back to Quartets, coupled vertigo will be abolished. How goes the quarantine? Who do we know that is vulnerable? I also take pills without checking the label. Today, I was finally able to write, and I decided to leave this note for the sanitation workers. Thank you. I don't know you, but my trash is toxic and you take it. If I had an extra mask, it would be all yours, like my tattered and slightly broken heart. Thank you for surviving, and it's not for nothing, but the uniform looks great. Deconstrucción de un hogar. Cuando la brisa tumba el sol y a lo mejor pierdo los números importantes, o el celular se me agota en una siesta eterna, juego un juego tan peligroso como creer en la permanencia del tinte, o comprarme un mueble para un apartamento. Juego a que soy las ruinas de una casa abandonada, en un terreno sin título registrado, una casita de 3 cuartos, un baño, una sala y las rejas más hermosas. Se me cae el pelo en cantos, nadie me baña, las paredes se ponen enclenques, quedo hecho costillas manchadas por el sudor y el hollín, se me pelan las rodillas sin amor. Los perros me mean el candado enmohecido, me siento a veces casa, a veces persona que juega a tener casa. Los años pasan, de noche los múcaros anotan mi caída en cámara lenta, los ratones traen migajas, me ocupan 100 pies y polillas. Desarrollo nuevos hábitos. Lo llamo un estilo de vida. La soledad me acompaña por las fases del día, un segundo sol que riega hacia el cielo. Sé que el mundo sigue sin fin, pero veo cómo se mudan los vecinos, sus casas sin vender, pronto a acompañarme en nuestras soledades. Mis dueños por allá me imaginan igualita. Comienzan a darme pena con su idea de quién fui, con su esperanza de recuperarme pronto, pronto. Pero soy unas ruinas con aspiración a casa. Pero soy unas ruinas. Deconstruction of a home. When the breeze knocks down the sun, and I maybe lose the important numbers or my phone knocks out in an eternal nap, I play a game as dangerous as believing in the permanence of die, or buying furniture for an apartment. I pretend I am the ruins of an abandoned house that sits on unregistered land, a house with 3 rooms, a bathroom, a living room, and the most beautiful railings. My hair falls in chunks, no one bathes me, the walls grow gaunt. I'm all ribs stained by sweat and soot, my knees peel loveless. The dogs piss on my rusty chain. I sometimes feel like a house, others like a person who plays at having a house. The years pass. At night, the mucaros note my slow motion decline. The mice bring crumbs. I'm occupied by centipedes and clothes moss. I develop new habits. I call it a lifestyle. Solitude accompanies me through the day's phases, a second sun that begs toward the sky. I know the world hasn't ended, but I see how the neighbors moved, their homes unsold, soon to accompany me in our solitudes. From afar, my owners imagine me unchanged. I start to feel pity at their idea of who I was, at their hope of recovering me, soon, soon. But I am some ruins that aspire to become house. But I am some ruins. ¿Y por qué naciste aquí? Una cartelera anuncia la construcción de la nueva planta eléctrica, al lado de la cancha donde juegas a estudiar. Te enfermas, porque le dijeron a tus padres que las manchas en el cielo eran renovaciones. De prueba ofrecieron la iglesia pentecostal y su estacionamiento. Alguien sembró una mesa en el parque y ofreció tarot gratis, para decirte que en 2 décadas el gobierno vaciaría tus ahorros. Rezas y rezas para que mejore la situación económica de tu barrio. Te contestan máquinas que ofrecen opciones numéricas. Sabes que ninguna solución es lineal. El GPS te envía por una calle que ya no existe, pero conoces las playas de memoria y conoces sus relaciones al cemento como si esto fuese tu historia, tu ferrocarril centelleante. Los viejos tratan de no morirse a pesar del cáncer y del odio persistente de los gobernantes. Eres joven y subvencionas tu vida con chiringas y cine, pero también te enfermas porque el agua está enferma, porque los edificios tienen asbestos, porque tus pies tocan el suelo y duermes respirando. And because you were born here. A billboard announces the construction of the new electric plant next to the basketball court where you play like you study. You are sick because they told your parents the stains in the sky were renovations. The proof they offered was the Pentecostal church and its parking. Someone planted a table in the park, offered free tarot, and read that in 2 decades your government would empty your account. You pray and pray your barrio's economic situation will improve. You're answered by machines that offer you numerical options. You know no solution is linear. The GPS sends you down a street that no longer exists, but you memorize beaches and their relations to cement as if this were your history. This, your scintillating railway. The elders try not to die despite cancer, and our rulers' persistent hate. You are young and subsidize your life with kites and films, but you also get sick because the water is sick, because the buildings have asbestos, because your feet touch the ground and you breathe while you sleep. Y nada, I'm gonna end with a short one that I wrote after the earthquakes in January. Otro desastre natural. Por la ventana del carro, mis maones como rocas se calientan. Mis manos, 12 iguanas, corren con cambio para el que vende periódicos entre carriles. Vuelven con el titular. Perdiste tu casa y ahora duermes en un almacén lleno de sueños expirados. Se mojan con mi antén de salitre. Mis maones son 2 carriles donde mueren las iguanas. Mi cara es un gran titular que grita. Tus reptiles fueron a sofocarse en el frío y ahora duermes sobre donaciones de desastres expirados. Another natural disaster. Through the car window, my jeans like rocks warm, my hands, 2 iguanas dash change to the man selling papers between lanes. They return with the headline, "You lost your house and now sleep in a warehouse full of expired dreams." They get soaked with my saltpeter sobs. My jeans are 2 lanes where iguanas come die. My face is a great headline that screams, "Your reptiles left to suffocate in the cold, and now you sleep on donations from expired storms." Gracias.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow. I have like little chills. Y'all are so good. Y'all are so amazing. Wow. Okay. That's my last wow. Okay. I feel like they should just like quote me. Just be like, how many times you say wow? It's all right. It's all right. But yes, there's so many. I'm trying not to like be that person, be like, oh, I want to talk about this right now. So I'm just like mentally just like filing them like in my brain. So, but thank you so much, Raquel. We appreciate it so much. So on to our last poet of the reading portion of our night, Bradley Trumperfeller. So Bradley Trumperfeller is a trans writer and bookseller. They're the author of Reconstructions from Sibling Rivalry Press, and their work has appeared in Poetry, The Nation, Jubilee, Wildness, and elsewhere. They are a MacDowell Fellow, and with Nabia Lovelace, the co-edit the website Dive Dapper. They currently live in Massachusetts. Without further ado, let's give it up for Bradley Trumperfeller.
Hi, y'all. Thank you all so much for being here. It was really great to hear all of your poems. I've been taking like little notes off to the side. Just selfish notes. I have a lot to think about, I think. And thank you, Golden, for organizing this. I remember when I got the email with like the full roster of not only today, but like the entire We've Been Here like calendar. I like texted all my friends. I was like, oh my God, look how amazing all these poets are. I'm so excited to be a part of this. And that definitely continues to right this moment. I think Lori mentioned earlier that I mentioned to them I'm going to be reading mostly new poems and stuff. I'll read, I think, one poem from Reconstructions, which is my book chapbook that just came out earlier this year. But yeah, this is also, it's very fun to do a reading over with, I can't hear any of you. This is great. All right, so this is just a short poem. It's called Again. We wrote the year on our skins, opened a clearing the size of a star, where once they made their grammar briefly to outlast the trees. We will not outlast the trees. April falling like April into our bright wooden bowls. So that's that poem. I think for me, I tried to pull some poems from stuff that I've been writing and thinking about recently. And a lot of particularly anything that I've written since the lockdown orders sort of came down in Massachusetts has been about time, both because I think time is really something that I'm interested in exploring a lot as it's related to transness and queerness, and also to capitalism and anti-capitalism. One of those is better than the other. And I think we're in this strange situation where time has, it's developed a kind of weight to it for a lot of people. And everyone experiences it differently, but at least for me, I think time has felt very different in the past month than it has in the months prior, both for obvious reasons and just sort of in like I've been thinking about it a lot more. And I think when you study something, it sort of changes how it's operating, which is sort of a weird long introduction to this more or less silly poem that's called Wartime Powers. The House passes a bailout for time. Every day gets shortened by 2 hours. It's ratified in the Senate. The president, may he die, applauds. They underpay workers to go around adjusting clocks so the minute hands can keep up the pace. Watches go on strike, then grandfather clocks, then phones. We go back to sundials, and when it rains, we hold each other's contacts up to our floor lamps. We have so many floor lamps now. And wherever the spotlight falls, we wait until it turns green. No one assassinates the president yet. Why depends on where you're hearing this. There's a law against spit now, a city ordinance for limelight. All the op-ed pages are in agreement about the uselessness of forms. And in Alabama, we're told a man had himself declared legally miraculous. I disagree with the premise. The alarm clocks have a picket line. They march in figure eights around City Hall, waking everyone up all day long. Young radicals get tattoos of the hours. Nothing gets done so much lately. There's talk of the rich being able to buy themselves another week, another month. The days are laid off. The seasons tighten their belts. I feel like I introduced that as a silly poem and then remembered halfway through that it's not a very silly poem. It has like maybe a silly premise, but at the end, yeah, eat the rich anyways. This next poem is called Take 3. 3 figs strung from the ceiling with shoelace and a sound. Science fiction is describing a building when it is most like a building. I thought, dear salvage, I said, hello, goldfinch. The word is what came before speaking. Light gathers, bricks chew brick and precedents. Did you trust me when I said that I wanted your ears in my ears? We stayed up for hours listening to someone building fences around their garden. Enough terror, announces the terror. Should we riot or sext? Should we vanguard or double? Pay attention. Grammar is both a history of dispossession and spell. Play your grime and gown. I transgender a meadow. I lick the lichen clean. The deer pass like anybody. I won't answer the question. Coleman says I play pure emotion, and all gust is a riff on wind. Slow down, little Pentecost. Somewhere elser, a saxophone staggers. I'm coming to you alive from the end of history. The glassed dark arcs towards us. Come, quartz. Come, thistle of you. I common the window. Its blues seem among. One reason that I wanted to read mostly newer work today, partially because I'm just kind of bored of my older work, but just, you spend enough time with something and you don't really want to be thinking about it as much anymore because you feel like, I don't know, I already wrote that book. Do you know what I mean? I'm interested in sort of what new things are happening, but more so I think my poems recently are they're living up to what I want them to be doing with language a little bit more. Not 100%, because I don't think that's ever going to be possible, but more so than I have had them do before. And so I'm just sort of interested in bringing that into the conversation. But that said, I'm going to read one poem from my chapbook, Reconstructions. It looks like this. Yeah, this is probably the weirdest poem in this book, which is also the reason that I think it's one of my favorites in the book. It's called Monument. I take off that winter like a sports bra. Eye bright woman with the Roman nose, Roman back arch, denim on. I take off my skirt in minutes and in front of no one. What kind of my people is this? A glass wren sweeping feathers from the museum floor. How bone rag my time stutters. How 3 windlass are night jars. Be serious. There was a boy, wolfsbane, bright dress, 5th grade. What was his name? Worm moon with her 20-sided hands and the milk-eyed curtain. What room? Falling where I wonder, is he still a boy? Was he a boy? Then the mountain snow melts the mountain flowers. Seabirds sling their diamonds, their syntax, my people, my exquisite corpse breath and pronoun, and softly, and sister, forgive me. I'm trying to write a history of us without writing a history of us being harmed. But when I think about that day, it is not your name I remember first. Yeah, it's a doozy of a poem. I don't know, Golden can attest to this. I remember at the book launch for my chapbook, I was just like, after every poem, I was like, oh, I forgot that I'm writing poems about subjects that make me want to cry. So that's a fun thing. How am I doing on time? Cool. I'm going to read, I think, 2 more poems. This next poem does need maybe a little bit more biographical context, or whatever you want to call it. So a lot of my thinking about time and queerness is bound up by necessity with the fact that on my mom's side of the family, my mom was adopted by 2 lesbians in Alabama in the late 1960s. Why that was possible is really bound up in questions of their whiteness and their class privilege within Alabama. But nonetheless, I have lesbians for grandmothers, and that is definitely a big ongoing question that I think I'm interrogating. And both of those of my grandmothers have passed on now, both from Alzheimer's. And so I've been thinking a lot about memory and how that relates to this this project of imagining queer histories, and finding and digging up queer histories that already exist, but for so many reasons had to be hidden or not told. This poem doesn't have a title yet. Virginia was until there's willow on the cushions, until half a decade of Mama in her green chair watching the same 8 nature documentaries. Just an ounce of coffee and gusts of prairie grass by morning. It's not entirely aftermath to say I don't remember my great-grandfather forgetting the grocery lists he had to keep taped up by the door. Virginia, my mother's name, my mother's mother's name, inheritance, I'm saying, wild strawberries in the meadow, a hospital gown. Virginia was until not remembering who I was, which presidents and funeral parlors now, which pills not found in my stomach, which kin and kindling, wild thistle, raspberry leaves, daughter, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, no third namesake, no new tattoos, Virginia and the end of metaphor, Virginia and opening every window, speculative rainfall, imaginary cowlick and seeing the girl in the floor-length skirt and combat boots curtsy to the wren. The girl Virginia was until a shadow box of not one dress. Virginia, butch as a wax wing, I'm shaving my shins and crossing the houseplants. I made up a history and called it history. I blinked and was ancient. I winked and was her granddaughter. Who else could remember the girl I did not get to be? A boy ago, I was not this exquisite. The Xanax and the trumpet vine, the climbing rose and the milk. The name I can't admit to wanting is still the one she would have forgotten. Virginia, there's nothing left of the past tense, just some light I throw at the horizon and run toward, and run toward. Thank you. And again, thank you all so much for your poems and for having me here. It's really an honor. And I'm just going to read one more poem. It's called Speculative Realism. It has an epigraph from the poet Jean Valentine, who's one of my very favorite poets. And she has this line, "Door in the mountain, let me in." Today, being outside is, I'm worried of outsides. To repeat what I said would ask spindle of me, and I should make a very poor form of spider. A room is an interiority plenty to have windows and a cliff. Blink once for yes, twice for very much. Probably a cup of water is an image. What are you in study with? The tower fan warbles along a gray ribbon of air. Glass, I decide, is a non-binary feeling. Manifesto. What begins in attention begins again in speaking, in spoken to. I only pray looking up or at lampshades. In a dream she had, a friend bought me a tarot deck because we'd heard you were supposed to first receive them. Marimba in the windmills. my hand beside you in my overalls. It is possible that the last word Plath wrote was drag, but she wanted it to be spring. Some architects say materials have desired forms. Bricks grow up into archways, hips, hourglasses. In the next world, I want to be something useful, like a staple gun, or in love. The rocks at my altar know obvious things. Lower limit mountain, upper limit door. I miss her. Blink, blink. When I press the stick of butter into the skillet, I have to believe that the body aspires to a soul. Fuck the police. Red paint on the wall. Red paint on the wall. Lord, we owe this world such tenderness. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, that's my last wow. Wow. Can we just like, I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna be the audience for y'all. I'm just gonna be like, woo! Yes. Wow. I really am that person at the poetry slam who is like always going in like, you better go ahead. So thank you so much. Wow. It's just like a good segue, like tenderness in like, I think that like the things that I have just been like thinking about, and y'all can feel free to like unmute yourselves now, and like do what you need to do, whatever. But I think I just like when like throughout the reading and just like in preparation, I've just been thinking about a lot of doing the best for what you've been given, right? And I think that a lot of like this conversation, when I was thinking about it, like land you've been given, language that you've been given, and trying to figure out a place where you can be in that, right? And like understanding that like a lot of land is stolen land, and like a lot of people have been placed all over the world because of colonialization, because of whiteness, because of power. And I've been thinking about that in reflection to like poetry writing, how like poetry is a lineage of like a white construction, right? Like a lot of like forms we still use, a lot of like couplets, like tercets or different things like that have been like structurized or created like in like a white society, and then like it's been generationally passed on and re-examined and have conversations with. And I guess I'm curious about how are you all adding to that conversation or reframing that conversation for your own work, or just like how you have seen or really have like grappled with those conversations in your work. And anyone can start off. And let me know if you would need me to repeat anything. Like this is like a feel free. So yeah.
I guess my question is, I grew up reading Puerto Rican poetry, so a lot of it came from, Spanish poetry, like from Spain, and a lot of it came from Latin America, and a lot of it was responding to it. But I think after like hundreds of years of there being a writing practice, like sonnets are no longer belong to wherever they originated from, right? Like they become something else. Even just once, I think it becomes something else, but especially, like given how they've been like taken up and repurposed and thought through so many different traditions at this point, that it's like, it's almost like trying to find the etymology of words. It's kind of like, well, sure, it's useful to an extent, but it doesn't change how you deploy them every day necessarily, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to dab on, but I think you brought up a very great point. Like, I think things that I always think about in just like reading when I read other like non-binary, and the reason why I'm talking about non-binary and like POC and Black artists in particular, because I think it's something that is ingrained in like our like viewing of the world to like repurpose things, or to like say that like actually this isn't yours. Like actually this is mine, and like it's always been mine, and like the way I come to this work is different than how you have. And I think that you like just highlighted a point that I think that is important. And specifically just like to loop it back into this reading, I see y'all do it in many ways. I think that Noor, in your summer poem, there was this very interesting where you're using repetition to redistribute this word, right? And like to say like, no, I'm going to make it these multiple things and like make it massive but also make it small. And I think that I thought that was also like a good play. And like I also saw like heard in Bradley's work, I think Bradley, you do this thing of like you'll jump to the next phrase mid-sentence. And what I love about that is that it feels like how you would like be with your people, right? Like I think that sometimes I'm in a poem and I'm like, actually, like I don't finish this word. Actually, I'm jumping to the next phrase. Actually, I say the verb first. Like I think that those things that we innately do just like in our personhood, and like I don't know if y'all have ever like submitted work or just like read someone work and they'd be like, I don't think you should switch it back to how it was. I'm like, but this is my poem. I don't know if like people have like instances where they've like made specific decisions on like specific grammar or like language choices, stuff like that in that conversation.
Well, I think like to your point about the two choices you're mentioning, like a lot of the reason that I feel very drawn to formalism in poetry is because like, and I'm still, it's funny because I talk about formalism, but also my work, I feel like I'm never doing enough of what I want or what I like and love about formalism. But I feel like effective like formal choices let me choose what I say versus what is integrated into the work. So like, you know, like going back to the summer thing example, like I never have to say like this shit is eating up my life. But it's very much like present in that, and I can just express like the feelings that aren't necessarily logical and don't necessarily make any narrative sense to anybody, including myself. Sometimes I'm like, why do I write that? But like it allows like more flexibility, and that kind of for me feels really important as a marginalized person of any capacity, because there's so many tropes and people saying what I should say, like you're saying, or how I should write it, or like even like this isn't a Black poem because that, and I'm like everything I do is Black, so shut up. But it's like that kind of gives me extra layers of freedom to like you know, let myself take what I want and leave what I don't, and still acknowledge it. And also I want to say that I think that like we all read, I'm pretty sure, like very recent work, a lot of us, and I think that that kind of the COVID thing is a good example of what you're talking about, right? Like nobody can leave their house except for necessary stuff, and nobody can see each other, so we're doing things online. I think that like even just how Bradley, you're the one who said that like your poems are shifting and talk more about time, and it's because you're not geography isn't a thing anymore. It's very different. So like between space and time, like they're gonna both shift because one has been constricted so much.
Mm-hmm.
Noor, I'm thinking a lot about something you said or I think it was like after the summer poem, maybe it was before, but it was in regards to it, about making obsession a part of language and not just the subject of language. And I think about that kind of thing a lot as a way of thinking about form as like an expression of what you could say in a poem in a line, or to have the entire poem sort of be about. You can find ways to break language and to alter language, and have the poem subject sort of be a myriad of different things, but have the form be this, you know, obsession in this case. And I think that's something I'm really interested in too.
And also, one thing that I think that also, which I love, I've just been thinking about, is obsession with the narrative, like obsession with like pacing, obsession with like, oh, I don't have to, like, this doesn't have to run to be this like only 1-page poem. Like I think that like each of y'all have like longer poems that ask us to sit and ask us to like trust the narrative to push us forward. And I think that like one thing that I just love getting lost in a poem and just be like, oh, that's so like trans, and like I love it. Like that's so like anti-binary, and I love it. And I think that sometimes I just like I just sit and I'm just like, I love whenever I hear like fish, or like something that is like something that's so ingrained in like I want to say like our community, because I don't want to speak for anyone, but like a community of queer voices, saying what is like real in the moment. And I kind of want to go back to Nora, what you were talking about about like COVID-19 and like the poems that y'all read, the more recent ones. And it's like, I think that like what I enjoy is this understanding that land might always change, but like I have power in like the words I'm using or the way I dictate them, right? And I think that like also like Raquel, I think one thing I really love about every time I see your work or every time I see your even like your bio, it's like Spanish first and then English second. And like, what does it mean to not I guess like sway to a certain market or idea of like how I should present myself or how I should be. And yeah, I just wanted to highlight some of those things. But just to bring it back to COVID-19, I think that we're all like grappling with a lot right now, with like understanding where we're going to be moving forward or where we are right now. And I guess I just wanted to like check in to see like how has writing been, how has just like being in community been for you all.
Sorry. No, sorry. That was cool for no reason. My bad.
I laughed, but I would have laughed because I'm just like, what is this life? Like, what are we doing right now?
No. I feel like it's like good one week, and then I'm like, get me out of here.
Yep.
But I feel like
last week I was like, I'm not doing anything.
I think it's like a loss of control that feels like at sometimes I'm like, yeah, I can just go with the flow, and you know, it's okay that I'm having emotional swings, and it's okay that I'm getting frustrated, and like sometimes I can't write for a week. That's like wild, you know. But I think that it's just been like really about accepting that I have nothing that I can do right now besides wear this mask and hope I don't get sick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that as is good for language to like, we have to like let go of control of things, not to be too aquarium, but I think it's really interesting, like when, how suddenly circumstances like, you know, have changed, and how I think that's let me like let go a little bit of my first drafts that I'm so obsessed with telling the story, and just let them like be weird and like do weird stuff.
Yeah, I feel that, Nora. I feel like I'm honestly, if it wasn't for like 30 for 30 and my friends making me do it, I wouldn't be writing poems at all. Yeah, it's been weird to say the least. But I also think about how I was having a conversation with another Undocu friend the other day about how like it can be like cool, I guess, to want to like always write and like to like approach like Undocu poetics as a way of like quote unquote documenting yourself or whatever, but also not to fall into the trap of being like papers would ever save us. And so I think even that can be applicable to like the work that we're doing, like writing poems. I like, not to be like bleak, but like writing poems won't actually save us in that sense, but also knowing that like what is part of the work to like keep going or like to move forward and that sort of thing. And so that's something that I was kind of thinking about, Golden, when you were mentioning that.
I've been thinking a lot about poems as kind of speculative, maybe that's the wrong word, but like a social space, like an invented social space for ourselves. And Lori, I noticed the last poem you read, the after Jess, the Friday Crushes poem, which was not a poem of yours that I had heard. It's a very good poem. Good job. But I think that's such a good example of what I'm thinking about, where we can we have, particularly in this time where we're all, you know, we may be quarantined with people we love or roommates or whatever, or we could be quarantined alone, whatever our situations are, but there is a kind of loneliness to the situation, just because we don't have the kind of social contact we once had, or at least I didn't. I shouldn't speak for other people. And I think a poem has always been a place where I can go to be a little less lonely. You know what I mean? Like I can invent a situation where I am hanging out with my friends even when I'm not hanging out with my friends. And for the space of, even if it's just the space of the writing of the poem, I can dwell there and I can be there. And when I revise the poem, I can re-enter that space. And then you can also extrapolate that to so many other things. Like the space of a poem is a space where, you know, you can you can riot, you can assassinate, you can do whatever you need to do to get free. And I think that can be really liberatory. And at the same time, we shouldn't mistake that for actual liberation. And we, like Lori was saying, we shouldn't mistake what poems are able to do. But I think thinking about it as like, here's a place I can go to and invent and say what is and is not my history, and say what is and is not anything. You have the rules are yours to bend at your will, right? I think that's a really powerful thing poems can do, even if it's just for us individually.
Yeah, I just think like we're kind of all, I'm generalizing, but I feel like we're all kind of doing trauma and grief management and survival management right now. So I like, sometimes that looks like poetry, sometimes that looks like trying to go through the entire Criterion collection and then wondering why I did that. Sometimes right. Sometimes it looks like calling my friends. Sometimes it looks like trying to get work done and then doing it and then wondering why I did that and not something completely different. I don't know. I feel like, it's weird. It's like the situation has kind of flattened the importance of poetry.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's just kind of like, well, it's as important as other things are right now.
Right.
In that they help me manage, like how the situation makes me feel. But I definitely think its dimension has shifted with the situation in terms of like what it's able to do. And I feel like I've actually felt it's more limited in terms of what it can do for me right now. It's very hard for me to write. But whereas cinema or movies, I feel like have taken on this incredible capacity to
What have you been watching? I want to know.
Oh, I saw the weirdest movies. I saw this weird Soviet film in which a peasant soldier was Christ. It was bizarre.
I love
And then I've been watching really weird movies. I saw Babette's Feast. I've been seeing all kinds of anything. A lot of short films, whatever. And I'll probably get tired of that in like a few days. But I feel like this is
day by day. Like you really have to do what you have to do. And like I can definitely like I empathize. I was like, I can't do anything. Like the first week I was just like because I had just like left a job that Friday and like started this position on that following week. So like when everything shut down in Boston, I was like literally had like transition positions. And then I was like, I don't even know what my life is right now. I didn't even process the fact that I just like left this job. And then also like I'm processing how to like go into this week and start this new position. And then I'm also, like it was just too much for me to hold. And like that first week I was just like, I can't talk to anyone. Like I was just like not talking to my roommate. I was like binge watching Game of Thrones. I watched all of Game of Thrones.
I also returned to Game of Thrones.
I admit. And I was like, and my roommate's just like, damn, like we can hear the we can hear the da.
It's the ending is very apocalyptic.
Like, I'm so sorry. I was so depressed. Like I did not know how to process my emotions. And we're back to a level of understanding. But it is really a day by day. Like I couldn't write. Like I wrote my first poem last week and I cried afterwards. So I was like, wow, like who knew all this was just like held up for like months? And like I think the ways that I have been getting through it has just been like, this is like I should tell myself every day, like this is not normal, and like you can't act like you're going to just like whip into shape every day. Like I feel like I'm so, like, because as like a trans person, as a Black person, as a trans femme, like I'm always like, and this is something that we're like trying to like unlearn, but like I've always been taught to like, you always have to be on, like you always have to like prepare for tomorrow. Like my parents were like big about like making sure you're saving and stuff like that. And so like, but like, when you're like when you're working day by day, you're just trying to accumulate, like trying to prepare. and luckily I've been like, I'm blessed and like I'm definitely privileged to have like this position and like this platform, but like it is a daily struggle to just like show up for yourself, like, cause that's what I forgot, cause I was trying to show up for everyone else, and I was like, Golden, you have to remember that you're a person too. And I think that a lot of people are slowing down, which I actually enjoy. I think a lot, like, we're so busy like running towards things, and I think in this weird way, I think that like a lot of people, and I said this last week, a lot of people have been working through these deficits in like medical funding, deficits in like just receiving help from governments for years, for decades, for centuries, right? Like this is sadly is not something new to many people in this fight, right? And I think that like that also gives me a calming sense in this way, that like I know I'm from my ancestors have like outlived so many traumas that I thought was like unimaginable, and I think those are the things that like have been like helping me come back, you know, day to day. I don't know how I've been like watching a lot of movies, playing video games, like letting myself like be, you know, more, and like I don't know, because I used to be like, no, you can't do that, like you have to like do this much work when you get home and stuff like that. So I don't know, I'm like, it's a struggle, but you know, taking it day by day.
By day.
Yes. Maybe that's like a good place to end. We're like 9:10 right now, so like 10 minutes over. But I don't know if anyone has any like last like thoughts or like anything to add to this space. Well, thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it, and thank y'all for like weathering through the audio issues and like being so great and like live in the chat. I know it's like, it's so weird. I don't think people understand how weird it is to like read, like, or to like be reading and like presenting with like everyone's quiet. People are like, oh, why they look a little off? It's like, because there's no more nerves. And we don't do this because it just feels like you're, but thank you all so much. And I'm just going to close with thanking the audience who will eventually see this. And hopefully we'll have some captions below to help out with watching the video. Next week is our last week. I always forget to do this. But next week is our last week of this series. And so we'll have 2 features. So it'll be next Wednesday and next Thursday. We'll have a complete lineup of artists. It's going to be great. The talks are on for the youth. And then the last talk is going to be my pronouns are my pronouns and my name is my name. And I think that's pretty much it. You know, we got it there. Cute. Hey.
Thank you, Golden.